So I come from Brazil, and I graduated in graphic design in Brazil, and then I came here to Germany to study digital media in HfK. And is it okay for me to do it in English?
Of course.
Okay, great. Because other way I wouldn't be able. Yeah, and what I'm going to show is just a few projects that I selected that I think it's connected to electronics and what you guys are doing here. And please, like, if you have any questions or if you want to object something, feel free to do it. The first one that I wanted to show is just to come back a few years. This is from 2012, and this was my bachelor project back there in Brazil. Just bearing in mind that I come from a university where we were studying graphic design and nobody was doing electronics at all. And then what I did is, do we have sound here? We do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But only if you
If
turn
I
on the
connect.
speakers on there,
Okay.
I think.
Kannst du Licht ausmachen, hier oben in der Reihe?
There's another cable.
Ja.
No, it's like a regular power.
Besser?
This was? No, this is not. Or you just use your laptop speakers.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
think it's not that important, but it's part. Okay. So what I did during my bachelor's, actually the whole process took around 1 year until I figured out what I wanted to do. And there was many experimentations that were part of it, of me getting acquainted with electronics and to programming and all these sorts of things. And in the end, what I did was a soft tissue interface where I had this piece of a tissue that you can deform it and you can connect these to a computer and generate output visuals and sounds with it. And there is a video that explains that pretty much. Quite cool because when I finished it, I launched this website and I made everything open source there for people to download it and do whatever they wanted with it. And in the end, I started receiving emails from people from all over the world, like, oh, I turned that into a tennis that I'm running and I'm tracking my movement, and another one who made that with a dress, and another one who made that with something else. And in the end, I managed, this was my step into Europe because I managed to exhibit that in Austria later and some other places. So this was my very first project with electronics. And then I started working for a company there in Brazil called D3, and we were working mainly with the intersection between technology, design, and a little bit of art, but not so much. And this one was also my first project that I did there. And we were commissioned by Google to do an installation in 2 weeks, so we had practically no time to do it. and we basically just built this small robot that it climbs the walls, and we called it that spider plotter. And it climbs the walls and it can draw whatever input that you give to it. So from generative visuals to any sort of 2D image that you wanted to plot. And this is also a small video of it. And it takes like several hours for it to do it.
How does it move left to right?
Sorry?
How does it move left to right?
There are two strings that are attached to the pen, and these two strings go in an angle like this up there,
like
and then we have two pulleys which are pulling them, and then we have just to convert the coordinates, the polar coordinates from that pulling to then a linear one. And and it's super simple actually. We just have a servo there, here to make the pen go up to the wall or not, and then we have two stepper motors driving the strings which are pulling the robot up and down, and then we can communicate with the robot wirelessly. So while it's printing, like this one here, for instance, was a generative typing letter. And as soon as that was being generated by the computer, it was already communicated with the robot, and that was being drawn. This other project I also did there while working on that company, and this project is called the Love Project, and we were commissioned by an architectural firm there in Brazil, and they wanted to, basically they came with the idea of transforming love stories into objects, and then what we come up with was a setup of different sensors and a generative system that we could pick up the input of the love story that the person was telling out loud and transform that into objects. So this was one of the cases, but there are several objects that we made. But this one was, we made an exhibition in a gallery, and people went there, they told their biggest love story, and they got printed a small mandala of the story that was formed while they were telling it. And there's also a small video. These objects were also made up from somebody else's story. was quite cool, the reception there. There was even like some, well, the persons came in and they had total liberty inside a enclosed room to tell the story. So then we were actually just isolating them there, and on the other room we had like those two projections with the back-end interface that we made. That is basically just collecting the data and transforming that into the 3D object. And there were some people even who they got their mandala and they wanted to do a tattoo with that later. The reception was quite cool about it.
What sensors did you actually use to get all the data?
Yeah, we made several tests, but mainly the most important one was the EEG mindset that we were using.